All right, for people watching the replay right now, welcome. We're going to have a bunch of different questions answered. Got a lot of questions on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on YouTube. So if you're watching this replay right now, then welcome. Because chances are the reason you guys are here right now is you've tried so many different things and nothing seems to be working, or it works temporarily and you can't seem to get traction. So this is the first question. First question I'm going to answer. Kyle asked this yesterday. Thanks for that, Kyle. Thank you for complimenting me as a mentor. Appreciate it. Okay, so Kyle Kenny from Canada says, you mentioned the use of SSRIs and benzodiazepine as a factor that helped very early on in your recovery. Was this imperative to your recovery and for any recovery in general? At what point should people consider speaking to a doctor about the use of medication? That's a great question. And I actually get this question a lot. Yeah, so this question, I get it a lot because there's some people who recover with medication. There's some people who recover without medication. And it's very interesting. Me personally, because I'm almost straight up with you guys, I did take medication in the beginning. I think medication can definitely give people a boost and give people that, extra help they need if they are in really rough shape. But I would not rely on the medication or start doing it if you're able to go to work, if you're able to still go out and do groceries and go about your day somewhat normal and feeling a little bit of pain and fatigue. I think if you're completely housebound and you need like a wheelchair to get around, then it might be worth looking into. Now, the tricky part is finding a doctor who actually understands what's going on with the CFS, because we were talking about this the other day in the Recovery Jumpstart group, but you go to so many different doctors who are going to tell you so many different things and have so many different opinions based on the lens they're looking through, based on their profession. So a neurologist might tell you one thing and give you medication for nerve pain, right? If you're having burning legs and weird pain all over your body. Whereas your GP might say, oh, you just have anxiety, and they'll just throw Ativan at you. They'll throw medication at the problem. Or you could go to a naturopath and they'll say you have adrenal fatigue, and then they'll put you on like hydrocortisone or adrenal supplements. So with medication, it's just tricky. Like, I'm not against it. It's just a matter of getting the right medication from the right doctor. For me personally, I took Zoloft as well as took Ativan for 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or something when I was in the hospital, as well as clonazepam. But for some people, if they're in really rough shape, then yeah, I would definitely talk to an experienced doctor about it. Do a lot of research. Try to find someone in your city who has experience with that. But yeah, medication is not all horrible. I used to be very against it until I had to take it and I actually got better from it. So that's kind of my 2 cents in a nutshell on medication. I hope that helps, Kyle. How's it going, Becky? I was typically a very social person. Being so isolated is really affecting my mental health. How do you balance this fact and the fact that you have a hard time with post-exertional malaise if you socialize too much? Yes, I had this question come up a few times. I'm actually looking at my Instagram right now. A few people actually asked that same question. Post-exertional malaise. In your situation, being isolated is affecting your mental health. A lot of my interactions with people shifted to like online and digital when I was sick. Like I could not go out even if I wanted to. So a lot of it was like talking to friends on the phone, texting them if I could look at a screen. But yeah, every few days I would call a friend and we just hang out on the phone for a bit. But that's a way to limit it. And then if that's still causing you to feel symptoms, then you just need to pull it back. But I would try to make everything as simple as possible. Try not to go out as much. You can still socialize with them, really just through the power of the internet, though. That's what I did. I just pulled everything back, and then I just limited it. So as much as I wanted to socialize, I had to really work on myself, face those anxieties and those fears about crashing, versus just trying to always talk to my friends and distract myself from all the symptoms. But we got another question here. Vivian commented this yesterday or the other day. I've always been an overachiever, perfectionist, and set unrealistic goals for myself. In recovery, I struggle with letting that mindset go and finding the right balance of forward progress or resting when needed. I tend to push until I crash. Yep, it's good you're aware of it, that you push until you crash. Did you also struggle with knowing and balancing your limitations as you began recovery? How did you address that conflicting mindset? Yep, absolutely I did. I was like the exact person who would do this exact thing, constantly push and crash. Because the thing with the pushing and crashing, every time you get a little bit better, you're like, okay, maybe this time will be different. And maybe I could do all these things and my body won't crash this time. Maybe I'm better now. And you always think that, and then you just overdo it and end up either right where you were or even worse if you pushed it a little bit too hard. And so the overachiever perfectionist and setting unrealistic goals for yourself, that's almost like the core problem. Like you could change your habits of what you're doing day to day. You could change even your thought patterns during the day. But if that's like deeply ingrained in you, that overachiever and perfectionist attitude, then that is almost like the core problem. So that needs to be addressed first and foremost. And sometimes, not sometimes, but a lot of the times, people won't make like drastic change in their lives and change on that deeper level until their situation forces them to. Like sometimes until it's really bad, then they'll change. Like me, it took me being in a hospital, not able to move, could not roll over, on so many different painkillers and medications from the doctors. It took me to get to that stage to finally be like, okay, I need to let go of this mindset, because this is not something I can just think my way through. I can't push my way through it. I can't be a perfectionist about it. And being a perfectionist and overachiever, it's great to an extent. You can't have it in every area of your life. Your brain needs time to just relax and turn off. It's almost like a balancing act in the beginning. If you think of it like a circus, you see those people walking on those tight ropes. They have that stick and they're balancing back and forth. A lot of times they'll fall off several times when they're practicing and they're trying to get the hang of it. It's like this, like you're going to fall off several times until finally you learn how to balance even your thoughts and emotions and your activity levels. It's just something you almost have to learn trial by error in the beginning, or you come to someone like me and then I can help you just stay on track. Because yeah, accountability is huge too. It's hard to make that internal shift with the mindset, but yeah, it's usually not until the symptoms get really bad and like you finally draw the line and you look at it from an objective point of view that you're like, okay, this is not working, so I need to change my approach to it. Okay, Mel, I see your question. I'll answer it shortly, but I'm just going to get through some of the questions first that people commented yesterday. Ensha, how do you deal with obsessive thinking about trying to fix something when things go wrong? It's like my mind needs something to obsess about when one stressor is over. It picks up something else to worry and obsess about, telling me all the things that could go wrong. I'm aware of this pattern, but it's so hard to stop. Where does one begin? Yes, I experienced this a lot. This goes back to the magnifying glass analogy. I have this in the recovery science blueprint, but essentially your brain, it's looking for problems. Especially if you are in a constantly stressed state, and I don't mean just like psychologically, but physically your body's stressed out, which leads to you being mentally stressed and emotionally stressed. Your brain is going to fixate on problems and a lot of times even create problems that are not even there. That's just how the brain works. It's a survival mechanism. It's trying to protect you from all dangers. But the thing is, the mind, it can be thrown off balance and it will start being overactive and looking for problems that aren't there. And it will create problems that aren't there. So I think just being aware of that and noticing when your mind is having these irrational thoughts will really help you like catch that before it spirals out of control. Because as soon as you start getting anxious about stuff and get into this downward spiral and this snowball of negative thoughts, it's really hard to stop it in its tracks. You almost have to let it run its course. So you need to catch it early on. And the way you do that is just by being aware of this concept. It's like the more anxiety you have, the bigger the magnifying glass for all the issues going on. So I've said this in a few videos before, but imagine there's a small spider on the table. It's not harmful. It's not that scary, not that intimidating. If it's like really tiny, like you almost can't see it. If you get a big magnifying glass, put it over the spider, then that changes everything. That spider now seems 10 times bigger So the actual threat, the danger, is still very small, but through the lens that you're looking at, it seems way bigger. So that's something to think about. It's just being aware of that and catching yourself before it spirals out of control. And it's okay to have these negative thoughts pop up. Not okay, but like it's normal. It's very common. It's a natural thing for your brain to do. So it's not necessarily like a really bad thing, but you just need to be aware of that so it's not constantly running on autopilot. Mel, how do you get out of the freeze state they say we are in so energy can come back? It's only the brain you're training that can change the PATs in the brain. PATs. And what type should one do? How do you get out of the freeze state they say we are in so energy can come back? Yeah, so freeze state, essentially a freeze state, it's your body is confused. I think Kyle mentioned this actually in one of our calls. I think it was last week, our recovery jumpstart. But when your body's in the freeze state, essentially if you think of yourself like a car, your brain is like stepping on the gas, but also holding the brakes down. So you're spinning your tires, you're burning the brakes, not really going anywhere. Nothing is really happening. The car's not moving, but the engine is just being burnt out and pushed to its absolute max, and the car is just being wrecked. Let me see, what was the question again? So that's the freeze state. One is being aware of that. It's like awareness for all of these things is going to help so much, because if you understand what's going on, everything else will fall into place because you know exactly what's going on. Like, this is scientific. Recovery needs to be a scientific approach, because if you approach it with emotions and what you think might happen or how you feel, it's never going to work out because your feelings will be all over the place. So your recovery journey approach needs to be like based in science and like proven strategies. But yeah, awareness will help you get out of that freeze state, because you'll start to notice these things, like when your thoughts are anticipating these dangers, what Ensha mentioned, obsessive thinking. Yeah, the brain retraining can help a lot with, I find it helped with the chronic pain quite a bit. Chronic pain, any kind of physical sensation in your body. This really helps with the brain retraining for chronic pain. Now there's several other ones I've heard of, the Gupta program, the DNRS. I've personally tried them, but it wasn't my cup of tea. I know it's worked for some people, but for me, it didn't seem to work. So I used the one my doctor taught me to help with the chronic pain. But getting out of that freeze state depends, like, how deep in that state are you in? Like, are you not able to get out of bed? Are you just worrying when you go out? Yeah, maybe expand on that a little bit. Then I can dive deeper into that question. Okay, Tally says, for those of us years in, it sucks to pull way back and start over when it's been so long. How did you find the ability and patience to know what was okay to do and what wasn't? And how did you stay hopeful that what you were doing was helping when it's such a slow progress? Great question. The truth is, I never knew 100% what was okay to do and what wasn't. And it's not about, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. It's about understanding what's going on internally. And when you think of it in that lens, what can I do? What can I do? Now you're putting consequences on every single action that you do. Oh, did I stand up too fast? Oh, did I go up the stairs too fast? Oh, did I roll over too many times when I was lying down? And you'll equate every action or even every thought, everything that happens with some kind of consequence. And with that kind of thinking, it's almost impossible to get better, because now your brain is literally primed to look for dangers. It's like, oh, you got up quicker than normal. Now your heart rate went up. Oh, now the heart rate is high. I hope it goes down soon. I hope it doesn't stay around for 2 to 3 hours like before. But yeah, like, I never really knew what was okay to do and what wasn't. I just understood what was happening internally in my body. And it was a very fluid approach. So if I wanted to go outside for a short walk, I could do it, but I knew I just had to rest for a couple days. And I would feel a lot of symptoms, but I was still okay with it because I was in control. Like, I was actually completely in control. How did you stay hopeful that what you were doing was helping when it's such slow progress? Again, it's just understanding, like, how the recovery works. If understanding the science, even though it may seem like such slow progress, you're able to zoom out and look at the big picture and be like, okay, it feels like slow progress right now. Me even just slowing down this much is going to get me so much higher because I'm letting my body recharge. So yeah, it's an interesting topic, just like staying on track in the slow progress. I have a video coming out next week about this, which will be really good actually, because it's all about understanding progress cycles. Like I would go into it on this call, but it can get pretty complex and you need to have a good understanding of what's going on. But yeah, it's understanding the progress cycles, how you're going to be in progress cycles could be a few days to maybe in this stage that I know you're in, Tally, because I know you're in pretty rough shape. It can be a few weeks to even like a month. That could be a progress cycle. A progress cycle is when you're able to get more energy, less symptoms, you're able to do more activity, and like you seem to make progress, and then you have an adjustment period, then you dip down. Not quite where you came from, but like almost where you came from. And then you're able to go back up. That's a progress cycle. Even though it seems like you're not gaining much traction, you actually are if you zoom out and take a look at the big picture. I'm not sure if Maciek is on, but he had a question yesterday. So I'm just going to post it here. Question: stuck in vegetative nervous system parasympathetic freeze state. How can I be working on calming my system down when it's already dead state? I'm not sure what that means. It is causing digestion to not work. General fatigue, sadness, anxiety sometimes. Hope you talk a little bit about what the track to recovery might look like here. I feel like just around the corner, there is overwhelming sympathetic overreaction. Yes, so you feel like there is impending doom, overwhelming sympathetic overreaction. So just the fact that you said that here, I feel like just around the corner, there's overwhelming. You're almost like anticipating that. You're anticipating that it's going to come no matter what. So even with that thought in your mind, I'm not saying, oh, just ignore your thoughts and just do whatever. No, that's not what I'm saying. But the more you fear them and you're anxious about all that stuff, the more those feelings will be amplified. I think he means our body is shut down in freeze mode. Yeah, so in freeze mode, your brain is just putting a limiter. It's like in that fear mode, but it also wants to run. Well, basically freeze. It's the state in between fight or flight. It's like your body's trying to figure out what to do. So with this, it's working on the internal thoughts, because I almost guarantee what's causing this. As much as it is physical, but what's keeping you stuck is the fear of all the symptoms and seeing everything you're doing as like having consequences and things like that. I know I talked with Maciek and we did a one-to-one coaching call, but let's see, it's causing digestion not to work, general fatigue, sadness, anxiety. So the general fatigue, sadness, anxiety, those will be there. Those will linger. Those are like the stubborn symptoms that don't go away that quickly. The sadness and anxiety, usually you'll have mood swings, and this is for everybody. When you're in an adjustment period, or when you do activity and then you start to pull back and let your body rest and recover, your body is trying to find its balance, not just physically but mentally. So it's going to be having mood swings, which can be scary for some people, but you just have to know that's part of the process, because your brain is sending all these signals everywhere. It's become overactive, and it's sending the physical symptoms to your body as well as the psychological swings back and forth. If you think about it, if I could paint a picture for you, your nervous system and your brain is run on electric pulses. These pulses, not to get too scientific, but it's run by electricity, electrical pulses. What happens with CFS, we're in such a stress state for a long time that the electric pulses, they're higher than usual. So it's like overreacting to certain things. And if you think of when you're in a crash or in an adjustment period, those electrical impulses are just like overstimulated and they're triggering everything. It doesn't really know what's going on, and it's triggering all these things not really in a certain order. So it's just pretty much throwing waves of symptoms at you. That's why you get a lot of brain fog too, because your brain can't function properly. Like the electrical pulse is just going. It's like zipping back and forth. Same reason why you'll get a lot of buzzing. And yeah, with this, you'll have the sadness and anxiety sometimes, usually when you try to increase stuff. Because I know Maciek, he was doing some dance classes, like salsa classes, I think once a week or something like that, which is really good. Maybe pull off of that a little bit. That way you can actually really calm the system down. Even though it's like really enjoyable, you got to look at them like, okay, it's like a +5 on the mental scale because it makes you feel really good, but it's like a -8 on the physical stress. So you have to weigh out the options here. Although it can make you mentally happy, then physically your body will be struggling. And that's something that you kind of just have to make that call. You have to make that decision if it's worth it or if it's not in the long term. Let's see. We got a question from the Facebook group. Someone posted this yesterday. Ari, what exactly did you learn during your hospital stay? How have you changed it to fit your needs? That can be a very long that answer can be hours long. So in a nutshell, I'll break it down for you. I learned how to recover. I learned like the journey, the process, the timeline of recovery in the hospital within the span of about a month. That's where my doctor opened my eyes and he essentially taught me there's 3 things, at least for me. Keep in mind, I could not walk or could not even lift my head off of bed. To paint a vivid picture, I could not lift my head off the bed in the hospital. They had me on blood thinners every day. They would inject my stomach with blood thinners because I could not move. I was just paralyzed in pain. And they did that so that I wouldn't get a blood clot. Like, I literally could not move. They had me on gravel, like multiple Tylenols a day. They were giving me like Ativan, folic acids, 3 other things, and I was hooked up to IVs. But essentially, yeah, at first I had to get on medication because I could not lift my head off the bed. Excuse me. Number 2, I had to learn to manage I learned how to respond to my symptoms properly and not go into that downward spiral that most people do. And I did that for years, and I would only just get worse and worse because, one, I feared the symptoms, and when a symptom did come up, then I was like, oh no, it's game over. Here comes the rest. Then of course my brain would be like, oh yeah, he's already kind of anticipating it. Let's throw a bunch more symptoms at him. So it was just that negative cycle. Number 3 was building up threshold. So those are the 3 things. Like, they had to put me on medication to start. Not saying everybody needs to go on medication, because like I said, I was in the hospital on 8 different things just to like freaking keep me alive. Learning how to respond to symptoms properly. So not going down that panic route and that fearful route, but understanding that it's part of the process. And then 3 is building threshold, so increasing activity properly. I can't break it down in this call because it's way too long, but essentially, how much can I increase every progress cycle? I figured it out. I was like, I can increase about 10%, and then I have to pull back. The adjustment period is 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 weeks. And then after that, I can progress again. And every 8 to 10 progress cycles, I know I can have a big jump in activity and my body will be able to handle it because I've built that solid foundation. But yeah, that's something we go deep into in Recovery Jumpstart, which is we're launching the 2nd program in January. Amy says, yes, in a dip here, feels like back to square one, but trying to stay hopeful. Like some others are saying, my energy just doesn't go that high. I don't get the booms and busts. How to get more energy? Been doing medication, etc. since August. So great question, Amy. I'm trying to stay hopeful. So you feel like you're back at square one, but trying to stay hopeful, and you're in a dip. So it's good you know you're in a dip. The thing with trying to stay hopeful, when you get to a point where you understand what's going on, it's no longer really hopeful. It's, you know exactly what's going to happen. It's black and white. There is no gray area, because if you do this, that if you follow like the path, then you know there's no way you're going to crash. And it all starts with, there's something that is keeping you stuck. Just think about it, because you're not doing many things different, but something is keeping you from getting this energy and keeping you from doing all these things. So yeah, we'd have to really look at what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis and see if you're stuck in that loop, that chronic symptom and anxiety loop. So you've been doing meditation since August, which is great, but it doesn't seem like it's been helping though if you're stuck. But for anybody who's stuck, I would say really look at What are your thoughts on a daily basis? This is something we do. We go heavily into, and Kyle can talk about this, but we need to fix the awareness of what's going on, because if people are staying stuck, then the high chance your thoughts are running on autopilot and your emotions are running on autopilot, and it almost feels like you're running on a hamster wheel. As much as you're trying, it's like nothing seems to be moving forward and no progress is made. And we have to explore this on a deeper level. What are the thoughts you're having? What are the limiting beliefs you're having? What is the language that you're speaking to yourself in on a day-to-day basis? Not necessarily like consciously, but unconsciously, because a lot of times that is what keeps people stuck. If you're not doing much more physically and your life doesn't really have that much stress, like on the surface, externally, right, there's not much stress, then we have to start really looking internally. It's okay, then there's something going on inside that's keeping your body stuck, because the brain is putting this limiter on your body. Granted, everything I'm saying, everybody, is if you've gone to multiple different doctors and crossed everything else off the list. You've had blood tests and scans and all that, and pretty much everything I'm saying, it applies to people who know they don't have all these other illnesses. This is for people who like can't seem to find an answer to what's going on. A lot of people, they'll find out they have something like this CFS or dysautonomia or some kind of nervous system issue, somatic illness, through a process of elimination. And that's the only way to find out, is a process of elimination, because you can't test positive for somatic symptoms or chronic fatigue syndrome. I think now you can with some mitochondria, but very rare that people actually test for that and actually turn out that way. Like me, I was in really bad shape, but I was able to get better. So yeah, you have to find out through a process of elimination. Okay. Tally says, what about when we start to get out of freeze mode and then we are fight, flight? The anxiety always crashes me again. Yes. So we need to look at the triggers, like what's causing you to get into fight or flight and what's causing you to stay in fight or flight, because it's pretty normal. No, not normal. It's common for people to get into fight or flight mode a lot. What's the most important is how you respond to that. Are you responding to getting this heart rate increase or these fight or flight feelings with more anxiety and more frustration and more like despair? Because if you're responding with that, you will crash 10 out of 10 times, 100 out of 100 times. So you must stop that cycle. Like when you do feel all these symptoms, you cannot go to, oh man, here we go again. Oh, I tried so hard. Like you got to cut that out. And it might sound harsh, but that's the truth. Like you literally have to take the bull by the horns and start redirecting your thoughts, things like that. Or else it will always just like automatically go down that route. And the thing is, now if you've had this for a few years, then your brain is primed to think like that. It's primed to look for danger and look for stressors and look for threats, and it will automatically go down that route. So at this stage, you're almost like trying to swim upstream against the current, because once your brain starts going down certain routes and it starts establishing these patterns, you have to do everything you can to break out of them. But you have to be aware that they're there, and you have to actually recognize them. But it's just a matter of taking back control and getting out of that autopilot. So really look at what thoughts are you having when you're having these, when you're going into fight or flight? What kind of emotions are you having? And you'll find there's going to be patterns. Like you will find patterns. You're going to have similar thoughts, similar feelings when you are in fight or flight. And you will feel the fear. You will feel the anxiety. But it's how you respond to it. Are you going to respond to anxiety with more anxiety and make the problem 10 times worse? Or are you going to catch it right there and be like, okay, I feel the anxiety, but I'm going to let it pass, because there's literally nothing I can do to make it go away other than just be passive about it. I'm not going to fear the fear. I'm not going to be more anxious about the anxiety. It's just counterproductive, because then it will snowball and the anxiety will exponentially increase if you throw more anxiety into that mix, if that makes sense. Again, a lot easier said than done though. I know how hard it is. So it's going to be a work in progress. It's not going to happen overnight. I'll tell you that. Hey, Bertito, how's it going, man? Alexander, true. I stopped salsa class because the mental effort is high. This was just before I had to stop working and everything. A healthy person doesn't notice this effort that much. Yeah, that's true. Normal people, they don't really have to think about stuff they do throughout the day. Like they go to the groceries, do groceries. They go for a walk in the park. They do anything. They don't really have to think about it. But for people like us, we just have to understand that temporarily we have to operate at a lower level than them because our nervous systems are just hyperactive and imbalanced. And it's going to perceive a lot of different things as threats. So just understand that it's likely that this is not permanent. It's temporary. Kyle, what was the moment that you realized you completely recovered? Do you ever have moments where you think you could regress? Yeah, Kyle. So what was the moment that you realized you completely recovered? I think it's actually recently, like earlier this year, when I was able to do so much activity. I was able to go back to working out again, like hard, like a regular person, and I was able to work my 10 hours a day. I was able to stay up late, but I was also balancing it. Like I was making sure during the week, because I run my own business, I'm just like, okay, it's a Tuesday, I just want to sleep all day. So I would sleep all day and let my body recuperate. I learned how to balance that. But when I was able to do all these video shoots and wake up at 5 a.m. and pull and work all day until 11 p.m. and then the next day I'll feel a little bit tired like a regular person would, and then the next day I was fine. Then I was like, oh man, I think I'm in the safe zone. Like I'm actually really good, in a really good spot. And then I tried working out more. And then actually this summer, this is to your second question, do you ever have moments when you think you could regress? Yes. In fact, I was feeling so good earlier this year. I was working out every day, not every day, a couple times a week. Then I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could actually go backwards, because I'm pretty good right now. I've been on a steady increase, and as you get better, it like exponentially increases. You get better and better with less and less effort, as long as you're keeping your habits pretty good and you're allowing your body to rest and recover. But this summer I was like, I just want to see how far I could push my body. Like I just want to go. So I did the 75 hard challenge, which is you do 2 workouts a day, and you do 2 workouts a day. One of them has to be inside, one of them has to be outside. And that was way too intense. But I wanted to see how far I could push my body. It's kind of dumb though, because even for a regular person who wasn't working out like many times a week, I went from working out 2 times a week to 14 times a week, which now when I think of it, that was dumb. Obviously I'm going to feel brutal, but yeah, I maintained that for about a month. This is like back in June, but yeah, my body hit a wall. I felt crazy symptoms for a good week, maybe a couple weeks. And then I was like, oh my God, am I back to square one? But then I applied everything I teach, stayed calm, did the brain training, really just took the time to rest at home, understanding that I fried my nervous system. I was telling all my friends about this, and they were like, dude, are you crazy? Even me, if I did it, they were saying like, even if they did that, they would feel like they got hit by a car and they'd have to rest. So yeah, it was like, that was like my scary moment of understanding that I could regress. But obviously every human body has a limit. And if you want to do something like that, like work out 14 times a week, then you got to build up to it. You can't just jump into it, which is kind of nuts. But that's when I understood, okay, the human body does have its limits, even when you are healthy again. But now I'm all good. I'm all good now. I can go swimming, go on a couple of runs. So yeah, it was really interesting. Amy Stone, I meant to say I've had better moments here and there where I've thought things are changing. That's really good. That's really good. You want to look at a good way to gauge your progress is look at what you were doing a month ago and look at what you're doing like today. Even though you might feel the same symptoms as you did last month, look at the level of activity you're doing, because you may feel like you're stuck in the same place, but you also may be doing a little bit more activity. And this goes back to the spiral staircase analogy. If you look at the spiral staircase from the top view, you just see someone going in circles. But if you look at it from the side view, there you see them getting higher and higher every time. So it can be deceiving, the journey of recovery, because you can be feeling similar symptoms as you did a month ago or 3 months ago, but look at what you're doing. You might be doing 4 to 5 times more activity or 3 times more activity. So always just compare yourself to a month ago or 2 months ago. Don't look at it in weeks or days because that's not an accurate measurable. Look at it in months. Mel says, you're so right. It's thoughts that are keeping one stuck. Absolutely. And I've been there. I've been the person who was stuck for years. So I totally know what it's like. Yes, the way we respond to our triggers is usually what feeds the symptoms. 100%. So if you think about it, yes, the symptoms can be bad, but they are amplified once you throw like anxiety in that mix. So for example, some people may experience this, some people not, but I'll just tell you my experience. When I used to be in pretty rough shape, I'd be lying down on my back. And I was talking about this with someone yesterday. But I'd be lying down on my back and I'd be so scared to roll over to my left or right and just roll over too fast because I'm like, oh, what if it causes a bunch of heart palpitations? And then I'm going to go into a crash and then I'm going to be stuck for like the next 8 hours and then I'm going to have headaches. And all of that just came from the thought of rolling over. And then I'd be listening to podcasts and then without even realizing it, I slowly rolled over to my side. And then I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, how did I get on my side? I rolled over. So it's like the anticipation of doing things and the consequences that they might have or that they will have is so much worse than actually just doing the thing. And when we're constantly, like I said earlier, when we're equating every action that we have with some sort of consequence, like we're going to pay for it, then that's when it gets tricky because then you can't do anything. And every single thing you do is going to have some sort of reaction. If you're counting like the steps you take or how many minutes you're able to sit up. If you're too rigid with it, then it's not good. It's good to have some sort of outline and be like, okay, I know I shouldn't push past this and this, but I have this safe within this activity level. You don't want to measure every single thing. Becky, excuse me. So Becky says, Mel, absolutely. Fear is a big one. When we have fear, it further disrupts the nervous system, which causes more fear. It's a vicious circle. Yep. Think about the fear and anxiety as the gasoline pouring on a fire. So let's say, here's a good way to put it. Let's say you have like a tiny bonfire. Like you have a few twigs, a few sticks put together. They're burning, they're on fire. Think about that like some of your symptoms. Yeah, but the symptoms hurt. It can be painful. But imagine that small fire, maybe like this big, right? This big. But imagine you pour gasoline on that. Now it just spreads everywhere and it looks 10 times bigger than it was or 5 times bigger. And it's so much harder to put out. And it's going to stick around for much longer. That's like your anxiety and the symptoms. If you think about it, the anxiety just makes the symptoms feel so much worse. And yeah, just like Ori said, it's the learned pathway. Like it's not your fault. Like you're not a bad person for doing that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying be aware of that because your mind will play tricks on you. It will play tricks on you because it thinks it's doing the right thing. It's trying to protect you from further stressing yourself. So it's don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. So it's going to make you avoid so many things and put the idea into your head like, oh, there's consequences if you do that. Little does it realize there is no actual danger there. But the thing is, it's like with the information that it's been given, we all got here because we put too much stress on our body. Either we overworked or didn't take care of our rest, didn't sleep as much as we should, didn't eat as well as we should, added too much on our plate, or maybe you got a virus. There's a few people in here, they got a virus that really wiped out their nervous system or their immune system, and that took a toll on their nervous system. Whatever the case may be, we all got here by there being too much stress on the nervous system. And so our brain, it wants us to avoid that. It wants us to stay put and be like, okay, we've had way too much stress on our nervous system. We just want to be safe, so we're going to make you stay put so that nothing can happen to you. So yet you don't expose yourself to either more work or more hours in the office or expose yourself to a virus. So we're going to keep you put, make sure you don't put us at risk. And the way it keeps you put and puts the chains on you is usually it starts with a form of fatigue. And then if you ignore those signs, which most of us probably have, we kept trying to push through it, then it gives you pain. And then it just cranks that pain up until before like you're stuck at home or bedridden or in really bad shape. And the brain goes, okay, now we have stopped them from introducing all the stress into our body. And we need to continue to stop them from doing that or else it will be bad. So your brain starts to create these new pathways of associating everything you do with like consequences because it's trying to protect you, if that makes sense. Comment makes sense down below if that makes sense. I don't know if I butchered that or if it actually made sense. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. That's what I've learned over the years. Comment down below makes sense if you got that. Becky recommended the book Rewiring the Anxious Mind. Yep. My doctor told me about that. There's actually another book here. He told me about this one. This is more so understanding that you can change the pathways in the brain, as well as like people who suffer with like depression, but the upward spiral. I'll leave that up there. I'm not a huge reader. I'm a big audiobook listener. Listen to an audiobook first on 1.5 speed, and then I'll read a book. So then the ideas are already primed in my mind. But the upward spiral, if you want to go check that out, that's also a really good one. And of course, the one that I always recommend, which is The Brain's Way of Healing, or it's also called The Brain That Changes Itself. There's 2 different versions. But yeah. So Ori, what I want to learn is what retraining brain exercises did you learn? So I actually have a few videos about this on YouTube, very, very specific. If someone could pull that up from YouTube and just put the link in the comments, that'd be great. If not, I could send you it after, Ori, because I'd rather you watch those videos because those are very detailed and there's like visual examples in there, which will make it really easy. So if someone on this call could go into YouTube right now and put in the comments, that'd be great. If not, I'll send it to Ori after. Bertito, how you realize when you're traumatized? Can you be traumatized without you even knowing it? I get some weird nightmares sometimes and wake up very scared. And how do you go out of it? When you talk about your PTSD, which you said to you was the moment that you crashed, which stuck with you for a while. I mean, in my personal opinion, I don't think you can be traumatized without you even knowing it. Like usually the stuff that's traumatizing is pretty significant things that are happening. So I would guess that they get your attention. For me, I knew I was traumatized like when it happened. Like the first time, pretty much when I got hit with the CFS hard. It didn't just come overnight, like it was a build up to it, but the defining moment that I was like, okay, I am sick. Like I'm not the same person I was yesterday because it was like a night and day difference, but I had to get rushed to the hospital because I took this study pill. My friend just gave it to me because I was always into reading and studying and trying to get better at sales and study my craft, like try to sell more personal training packages. So I took this study pill over the counter. I thought it was just like some natural supplement, which it actually was. But thinking back now, there in the pill is like one serving vitamin B12 was like 60,000%. I didn't realize it until after when the doctor showed me, "Are you seeing this? You took this?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. It was over the counter, so I thought it was fine." I didn't know they would sell something like that over the counter. But yeah, I took that. Body went out of control. I talk about it in some of my YouTube videos. Like, I don't want to go into too much detail right now, but basically I thought I was going to die. 8 paramedics come into the library. They're giving me oxygen, trying to keep me awake. Heart rate is like 170. Just sitting down, I can't breathe. But yeah, that haunted me. I had nightmares about that for a good year. And that was, I never really understood what people meant when they talk about PTSD until I had that experience. Then I was like, oh my God. It's almost like my brain just teleports me back to that moment and it's just running on replay. And I would wake up gasping for air and sweating. It was not fun. So how did I deal with it? I think over time, I just had to put myself back in that mindset. Like I had to go revisit it many times and just look at it from an observer point of view. So it's almost like I'm looking at myself in third person. So I'm like literally seeing myself being given oxygen and all that, but knowing that I'm going to be okay and that I'm going to make it and that I'm not going to die. So it's like I relived those moments, but understanding that I wasn't going to die. So like the fear was removed from that situation, if that makes sense. Amy, I used to love salsa. I understand there's a lot to follow mentally. Yeah, it is tricky. It's like trying to solve a really confusing puzzle with and not having all the pieces. But yeah, it's very hard to get. It can be very hard to get better. You have to turn into kind of like a new person, or not turn into a new person, but you have to add these personality traits like patience and educate yourself about what's going on. Because that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, if you know exactly what's going on, nothing is a surprise. There's no more unknown or everything that's going to happen before they happen. And you are actually in complete control. You're in the driver's seat now versus the CFS taking control of your life. You get back control because you know what to do at the different steps. That's something I help with people with. That's why I created Recovery Jumpstart. To give people that foundation, help them get that jumpstart in recovery, especially for people who have been stuck. And I help them do weekly coaching calls if they're in the program. Dailyo is a good app for keeping track of your activities and journaling for those who can't write it down. Cool. Haven't heard of that one, but I know there's several good ones. But yeah. Machek. Hey Miguel, have you tackled too much freeze response, vegetative nervous system question? How to improve from there? I've just joined. Yeah, we actually touched on it for several minutes earlier. That was a solid question. Pretty much how to get out of that freeze response and also why it's happening. So you'll see it in the replay. We dive deep into that. Amy, I get these too. I actually jump out of bed with fear sometimes. Horrible. I found that eating before bed, protein especially, helps a lot. Yep. It's weird. That happened to me in like phases. And also another thing with sleep. It's weird, but I would have a lot of lucid dreams and very vivid dreams. It was almost like spiritual. It's like my body was just so broken down. It's almost like my spirit or something just took off and left my body. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but I learned how to astral project, and it was a very spiritual experience. Like I could probably create a whole nother channel on like the spiritual stuff that happened when I was sick. It was crazy. Comment down below if anybody else feels like this is a spiritual journey and has had spiritual stuff happen, because it creeped me out at first, like quite a bit, until I realized I'm like, okay, well, there's more to life than just the physical. And yes, it was wild. Tally. My loved ones say you go nowhere all day but run marathons in your head. 100%. This is enough to keep us stuck, correct? Yep, absolutely. That is so true. That was so true. And when you say marathons, I imagine like you think of one thing which leads to another thought, then it's, oh, but this happened and this happened and then this might happen and this might happen. So it's like a domino, like you push one domino down, but the domino stack never ends. It just keeps going, and it can be exhausting. And that makes sense. That's why a lot of people can be on the couch all day or just be at home, not do physical activity, but feel absolutely exhausted because mentally they are running marathons. So you need to stop that. You need to catch that and put a stop to it. And it's not easy, but it's something that needs to be addressed. That's the only way you're going to get out of this. And even medication like that can help a little bit, but it's not going to solve the problem. In fact, it can make it worse if you do the medication, but if you're not consistently applying like these principles of like redirecting your thoughts and like stopping yourself from going down that route. Cool. Just reading some of the comments here. Do you know what is the main difference between Gupta and DNRS? I have no idea, to be honest. No idea. Alexander, thank you, man. Thanks for posting that. Yep, that's the one. And then there's a couple other ones on the YouTube, but this is the main one. Bertito, thanks, Miguel. Be nice to hear. I have the same, lots of vivid dreams. Yep. Tally, that's why I feel so damn defeated. Meds don't work for me. Yeah, I mean, you probably noticed this, but maybe at first they had some effects on you, and then your tolerance built up to it. And that's what will happen with medication. You'll need more and more until it gets to like, it can get to dangerous levels. Don't worry about that too much right now, because it's not like you've been taking it for 5 or 10 years. There's people who are on it for, decades. So don't let that stress you out too much, but just know that it's going to take the medication amplified with a lot of other stuff that's going to dig you out of the hole. Machek, have you been using any programs like Gupta or ANS Rewire? How is your course different? Yeah, no, I have not. I didn't use the Gupta or ANS Rewire program. I used, well, there was no real program that I used. It was what my doctor taught me. It was really just following the principles. Yeah, following really the principles that he laid out for me. The principles of how to rewire your thoughts, becoming more aware of what's causing you to go down these routes, how to increase activity. Like, we were very specific about that, as well as what is happening scientifically in the body when you're feeling these symptoms and how do they get triggered. I think it was learning that really helped give me some direction and help me make traction in my progress. In terms of how's the course different, I wouldn't even call it a course. I would call it like a program. And with this, it's a lot more hands-on. I don't know if Kyle's still on this call, but they can tell you I'm on a call with them for a couple hours every single week. I'm talking to them. They can ask me questions throughout the week. And this program, I simplified it a lot. Like, even though there's 6 weeks worth of videos, I try to simplify it as much as I can. No fluff, no cookie cutter stuff. And then each week we're at least progressing a little bit, but we're starting with the most important things first and we're working our way inside out. So it's like starting with the awareness first and starting by educating exactly what is happening in the body. Then week 2, I think it's the mindset level up. Week 3, it's reinforcing change. Week 4 is increasing activity. But yeah, it's very hands-on and I'm by your side the whole time. And then after the program, then there's just ongoing coaching for that. So I think these other programs, they give you access to these videos or whatever, but there's no real hands-on stuff. Like, you can't really ask them a direct question on a video call, or even if they do have calls, there's like 50 people on it, or it could be 100 people or 40 people, and not everybody has a chance to have their voice heard. So with this, everybody gets at least 10, maybe 15 minutes to talk about their specific situation. So it's very specific, the stuff we do in Recovery Jumpstart. And yeah, you'll hear about it more soon, because we'll try to get some people to share some of the benefits of Recovery Jumpstart as soon as they finish it up. But then we go into the ongoing coaching after that. Trav says, get the spirit thing. It's some floating between life and death while sleeping. Yeah, dude. Honestly, it's like you go into another dimension, because for me, it felt like my mind never really went to sleep, or some part of me, my awareness never went to sleep. My body was completely asleep, but I was completely aware of everything. And then I start like seeing all these things, and like it was interesting. That I'm gonna write about that. That's gonna be in my book. I am working on a book, everybody, that I'm aiming to get it out by the spring. I'm already like 3/4 of the way done it, but I'm on the part where I talk about like my hospital stay and getting through that, and it was triggering a lot of stuff for me, like just bringing up some sad memories. So I took a break from it, but I'm going to start working on that again, because I think it can help a lot of people. So it's just pretty much sharing my story, my entire journey from start to finish. Yeah. Cool. What are your thoughts on paleo ketogenic diet for battling CFS? Dr. Sarah Myhill advocates for this. Yeah, great question. And I'll give you my totally honest answer. But before I do that, I'll just provide some context. Leading up to my stay in the hospital, I was completely bedridden for like 8 months. Could not walk, could not do anything, had to wear earplugs all day, eye mask. And even then, my grandma could close the door on the other side of the house, and just that sound would give me a migraine. So I was in really rough shape. But she was feeding me perfect food, like very healthy, no candy, no chocolate, vegetables every single day, sweet potatoes, lemon water with ginger. And I was getting worse. Not because of the diet, but just because of everything, my mindset, the whole situation. I was just getting worse. When I got to the hospital and I started getting better, wasn't right away. It was probably a month after I got to the hospital. Then I started learning all this stuff. But I started eating like crap, like muffins, cookies. Honestly, the hospital food was pretty freaking good. Not gonna lie. Like where I'm from in Richmond, British Columbia, there's like mashed potatoes, gravy. Every morning I would have rice cakes with peanut butter, and my diet got way worse, but I was getting so much better. So those are my two cents on diet. I don't think it didn't play as big a role for me as it did with a lot of other people, because I made up for it with the mindset and just learning all this stuff and applying it, so then I could get away with adding a little bit more stress in my body with the food. I'd eat and as soon as I got out of the hospital, I'd be eating Cheetos, burgers, but I was still getting better, which was actually shocking. I'm not saying go do that, but I was pretty shocked when that happened, because I could not do that before. Like one piece of chocolate would make me crash and give me migraine. So it was really interesting. Okay. Was it hard weaning off the Zoloft, or did you stay on it? I've been on Celexa for 15 years, and even 1 milligram wean crashes me out. I'm afraid it could be adding to my nervous system issue, unless this is just fear. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know you were on it for that long. And when you say the 1 milligram wean crashes me out, do you, how long do you crash for, and how bad does it get? Because I had side effects of trying to wean off it. Every 6 months, we would lower my dose. But I was on it for about 3 years. Yeah, just under 3 years. When we would wean off it and lower my dose, yeah, I would feel some side effects for probably 2, max 3 weeks. So maybe about 2 weeks, yeah, I'd feel heart palpitations, headaches, lower energy, fatigue, more shortness of breath. But I just had to pull back the activity, and I was completely fine 3 weeks later. But that goes back to understanding what was going on. I knew that my body, with less and less medication, it would be more on its own and needed to adjust. But I wasn't getting anxious about it. I wasn't fearing it. Obviously, maybe I was a little bit worried, so I would just ask my girlfriend or my doctor. I would see my doctor every 3 months. So when I had the chance, I would tell him, and he'd just be like, "Yep, that's part of the plan. Remember, this was all part of the plan." But yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was manageable. Will you make a video of what you could not do even 2 years in CFS, like year by year serious road it was for you, month by 6 months? Please make one. It would be building patience and hope, and helpful to stop thinking all or nothing. It takes time. Your story progress could be helpful. I could do one. I don't know how effective it would be going into every single detail, because my journey and my story is going to be different from everybody. I just released a video, The Truth About My Recovery, where I break down a lot of the stuff. Will you make a video of what you could not do? Yeah, no, honestly, I don't think that would help much. That would only be feeding into your mindset of what you can't do. You need to stop looking at, oh, how long is it going to take me? What can I do? What can I not do? You need to focus on right now, the things you need to do on a day-to-day basis. You can't have the answers to everything, or else your mind's just going to start going crazy. Honestly, everything that I've put on my channel, if people applied every single thing that I put on my channel, then they would get better. But obviously it's almost impossible, because you can't absorb all that information, and it's hard to apply it because there's specific things you need to do in specific stages. But yeah, I don't want to overwhelm people because they're going to think they have to do it exactly how I did it. Yeah, actually going back to the question about the Gupta and ANS Rewired program, I did do this other program, but it was long before I even got to the hospital. It was CFS Health with Toby. So I did that, but it was in the early stages where they weren't doing the one-to-one calls, which I feel like that's what I needed the most. Well, not one-to-one calls, the small group calls. So I did that, but I found it wasn't I was getting worse. The information was great. Realistically, I probably did 10 to 15% of their program until I just got so bad. I was I can't even look at a screen. But I think the biggest thing with any program, or really anything you do, is having that support system of someone who's been through it. Could be me, could be a doctor, could be anybody, but you almost need someone in your corner directing you and being okay, this is what's going to come up next. This is what you got to do in this time. So the ongoing support, I think that's what makes the biggest difference, whether it's through YouTube videos or whatever. But, you also don't want to get lost in too many YouTube videos as well, or trying to get help from so many different people, because then it just gets even more confusing. Some ideas may conflict, but at the end of the day, the information, a lot of the information is the same from anybody. It's just the delivery, how do they deliver that information, and how do they get you to apply it, and you can find what works for you. So yeah, that's a program I did. I've done so many different treatments, even IVs. I had over 100 IVs from naturopaths over the course of 2 years, because he was we need to rebuild your nervous system and rebuild your adrenals. So we're going to do vitamin B12 IV treatments And we did that for like 2 years. I spent like 8 grand on it, but we weren't addressing the real problem, which was my mindset. Constantly trying to over push and thinking that I could just push through this, and that it's just going to go away on its own, and the IVs would solve the problem. I also mentioned this on one of our recovery jumpstart calls. If you try to just deal with the symptoms, that's almost like having a leak in the roof of your house, and then when all the water's pouring in, you put a bucket under there to catch it, right? So you're dealing with the immediate problem that you see, which is the water all over the floor. So you put a bucket under there, it's going to catch all the water. But guess what? That hole is still in the roof, and it's going to continue to be there as long as you do not fix it. So you need to go to the root source of the problem. Of course, you do need to put a bucket under there to catch all that water, but at the same time, you also need to be working on the roof to make sure that problem is going away, if that makes sense. But let's see. Tally says, like, I tried getting off of it, and even just 1 milligram reduction makes me vomit. Ooh. I can't see straight with a headache. Oh, yeah. That sounds brutal. You know what? When I would lower my dose off of the sertraline or Zoloft, I would vomit as well. It's like maybe once, but the nausea wasn't that bad, and the headaches weren't horrible. Yeah, that's tricky. Is there any way that maybe you could even drop it by half or a quarter? I'm not sure if that's possible, but I'm going to read some questions off of it. What did you do to keep hopeful and positive during crashes? It's a great question, because if you're on here right now, you know what a crash is like. You've had multiple of them. So what did you do to keep hopeful and positive during crashes? For me, I never really had a crash. Like, from the moment I learned exactly what was going on with my body, I felt like it literally felt like I hopped on a train and finally it was moving in the right direction, and it would almost be impossible to stop that progress. So I never really crashed after. I had adjustment periods, and the adjustment periods was like, I could not keep my eyes open during the day. I had to sleep for 14 hours, couldn't go for a walk outside because I felt symptoms, but it's almost like my perspective changed from a crash to an adjustment period. And I think for a lot of people, they will put a label on what they're feeling and their symptoms as a crash, which even just labeling it that is going to make it feel so much worse, versus an adjustment period. An adjustment period is something that's temporary, that is necessary for progress, and that is somewhat manageable. And when you call it an adjustment period, that takes a lot of the emotion out of it, versus a crash. It's, oh man, it's like I failed, or it's something horrible that happens. Whereas an adjustment period, it's neutral. And for me, I actually look at it as something positive, because that means that this is the stage where my body changes. This is where the magic happens. Just shift your perspective of looking at crashes as adjustment periods. Obviously, if you are in a bad crash, you push it too hard or did something, then just understand that this is temp. As much as it feels like it's the end of the world, I had that feeling thousands of times. Understand that it's temporary. Let's see. This person's asking, did I have Lyme? No, did not have Lyme. I thought I did. I was truly convinced I did, because nothing else was showing up. And it got to the point where I was almost like, I would rather them tell me I have something horrible than not know what I might have, because I just wanted a straight up answer. But no, I did not have Lyme's or EBV. Yeah. Miguel, can you please discuss mindset on boredom during a phase where we're about 50%, where we can't really do beyond our will yet, and not really out in the real world? That gray area that you mentioned in one of your videos. Yes. And that question is from L. John P. Yes. So you will feel like you're in a gray zone where, yeah, you're not quite super sick, but you can't like integrate back into society. So yeah, with that, you just have to be really patient and try to do things that you enjoy. Like, for me, I just really focus on doing things I really like to do. And even though I was like, financially, I wasn't making any money, I was in debt because I wasn't working for like a year, but I just really focus on doing things I can enjoy. That's how I found videography. And then I ended up starting a video production company. But yeah, do things you enjoy, and just, it's okay to not get right back into the world with everybody else. And you don't have to play catch up, because everybody is on their own journey. Just do things that you enjoy and focus on that, and you'll find like getting through the days is like easier and actually enjoyable. So when you are in that gray area, that's when it can be tempting to try to fit in and be normal again. But Just listen to your body, pay attention to the symptoms, because your symptoms will be what determines like how much activity you're going to do. So just really listen to your body, and remember, you're not in a race with anybody. Machek, what supplements made a change for you? I'll tell you what supplements made me like worse, because none of them really helped me, to be honest. I was on dozens of supplements over the years, and some of them didn't make any difference at all. Like I was taking magnesium before I slept, zero difference. Vitamin C, zero difference. Adrenal support, it helped actually temporarily, but made me a lot worse in the long run, just because I'm not fixing the problem, the root cause of what's inside here. I was always relying on supplements, something outside myself, to get me better. It's surprising, because when I went into the hospital, I was on like 6 or 7 different supplements. I thought they were like healthy for me and good for me. When we got to the hospital, they're like, yo, we need to flush your body of all this stuff, because your body is so confused. And I have a video coming out next week as well on supplements. It's essentially like trying to have this balancing act. The more supplements you have, the more complicated it gets for your nervous system. But yeah, they flushed my nervous system, my body of all the supplements. I was hooked up to IVs for like several days. But yeah, they just put me on the medication, and then I was taking 0 supplements, and then I was getting better exponentially, just focusing on all the things the doctor taught me. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of supplements, to be honest, because I just had such a bad experience with them. But for some people, they might work. But they never really did anything positive for me. Let's see another question. Hi, Miguel. I'm on my recovery journey. Last year, I got fever, then it turned into... Oh, no, this person... No, they're asking me to watch their video. They have a vlog on YouTube. They're like, can you watch my video and let me know what stage I'm in? Yeah. There's no exact stages there, but there's like... The stages are not like you move from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 to stage 4. Like, it's not like that. Sometimes you go to stage 3, then you go back to stage 2, then you go to 3, 4, then 3 and 4 and 3 and 4, and you're switching back and forth. It's like a very fluid concept that, yeah, it's like different. Yeah, there's different stages and phases, but it doesn't necessarily, you're not necessarily moving through them in exact order. You can be bouncing around, if that makes sense. But yeah, for the upcoming month, I'm going to be releasing about 2 videos a week, just leading into the new year, because I'll actually be going to LA in January for the first 2 weeks, and we'll also be launching Recovery Jumpstart 2.0, limit of 10 people, because we don't want too many people on these calls. But that's going to be exciting. There's already 3 people who will be joining us for that, and very excited to continue working with. I know Kyle's on here as well as other people. Recovery Jumpstart 1.0, I don't say 1.0, but the original group. It's been amazing just seeing people apply the things and seeing some differences, even just with mindset. Like, I think that's when you realize how big of a role mindset and awareness plays in all of this. Many of us were achievers. Should we stop that trait, Miguel? No, don't necessarily stop it. Just control it. Yeah, control that trait. Be an achiever, but don't let that trait control you. If that's that's probably the simplest way I could put it. Is you need to be in control, not the other way around. For me, for so many years, my perfectionism, my overachiever personality trait, that's what was in control. Even if me personally, I didn't want to do something and I knew it was not good for me. If I worked a 12-hour day and then I had the opportunity to work the next day for another 8 hours, I would not want to do it. My body's tired. Me personally, I'm like, man, like, I don't want to do it. But inside, that perfectionist and overachiever trait is like, no, you got to separate yourself from the crowd. Nobody's willing to do this. You got to be the one that's willing to do this. Because if you want to stand out and get different results and better results, you need to do different things than most people. And so it would be in control. It would almost be directing my actions and my thoughts. And I felt like I was just getting pulled along. So the reason why I was doing things, it was wrong. And that's the biggest thing I noticed from before and after having this illness, or when I got better, is that once you get better, you learn that you learn to start doing things because you want to do them. And you look at things as having more purpose versus doing things to impress people or try to achieve objective things or titles or labels or things to make us feel better. We do it because we want to do it. Like, I built a video production business because I loved creating videos. I thought it was so much fun, just expanding my creativity and turning it into reality. Whereas before, with personal training, I was like, I want to be the best trainer and have the most clients because I want to be the best, because I want to see my name at the top of those charts every single month. I want to make the most money. I want people to see me as like this success. That's why I bought the car. And externally, yeah, life looked really good. It looked like I was living the dream life. But internally, my body was just breaking down. I'd go home at night after a 12-hour day. I'm like, yeah, I'm like the #1 trainer this month. I just want a trip to Vegas, like wanted the company-wide trip. But it got to the point where it was so backwards because I was like, how will I even enjoy myself in Vegas? I have zero energy, zero motivation to go out. And while everybody else is out partying and going to clubs, I was in my hotel room sleeping and napping. I couldn't even sit back and enjoy what I've created, what I've built, because I was in it for the wrong reasons. And when you're in stuff for the wrong reasons and trying to be an overachiever, it's taking away from your higher purpose, like what you're really meant to do, because you're listening to these voices telling you you should do this thing or you should do this and that. Anytime you think to yourself you should, that's like a sign that you don't really want to do it. But a part of you is telling yourself you want to do it, but you don't really want to do it. When you're having those thoughts of, I want to do this, or I'd love to do this, or I get to do this, that's when it's a totally different thing and you're able to truly enjoy it. So that's one of the things that I learned. Thanks for sharing this, Kyle. That is awesome. So Kyle is one of the guys in Recovery Jumpstart. Really awesome dude from Canada. He's been in the program for just under a month because we're going into I think we just got into week 4. Yeah, he's been awesome. Showing up on the calls, does all the tasks, is like fully bought in and on board in the program, like fully committed. In less than 1 month of the program, I had a massive mind shift thanks to actually understanding and embracing what's happening to my body. 3 weeks ago, I'd overreact and become so panicky to every single symptom or thought. Even in just a short time, I'm aware that this is all just my nervous system being out of whack. Each week, we are learning the appropriate tactics and skills to address this nervous system dysregulation. I'm starting to become obsessed with building positive habits and putting myself into a position to recover. Yeah, and thanks for sharing that, Kyle. I think probably the craziest thing is on our first call, because a lot of these people, the people in the program, they're not on video calls much. They're not doing much activity. So a lot of people were super nervous for the first call. And Kyle actually, a few weeks ago, that he almost wanted to just drop out and not do it. And he was super nervous for the first call. A lot of people were there. I don't know if I can make it through a whole hour. I don't know if I can look at a screen, because every time I look at the screen, I crash. And everybody was nervous. But by the end of it, everybody was totally relaxed. They felt a lot more in control. And they were like, holy cow, we've been going on for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Normally I'd crash by now, but I just feel so much better. Going into the call, I was buzzing, but by the end, I'm like a lot more calm and just feel less stressed out. So it's really interesting. It's the mind shift that we're trying to achieve, and it's the multiple mind shifts. Like, it's not, you'll have these big mind shifts where you're like, wow, it all makes sense. I know exactly what to do. And you'll also have these small wins and small mind shifts that just reinforce that you're on the right path. That's why every Monday, I post something in the group, or every Friday, the Friday wins. But yeah, really appreciate you sharing that, Kyle. Kyle says Miguel's program also provides a great support system to talk to people in similar situations weekly. Also helps keep you accountable, especially when you have doubts. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, because sometimes, like you've seen it, Kyle, I'll sit back for a few minutes and you guys will talk amongst each other, because you guys are pretty much all in the same boat. Like, the thing about this program is you're doing it alongside people who are experiencing similar stuff that you are. So as the weeks progress, you're like, hey, did you guys feel this happen? They're like, yeah, we felt that. And yeah, I'm getting more symptoms too. The program is actually designed specific. Like, you will get symptoms around week 2 or 3 based on the tasks that we implement. But then we also have the counter to that, which is, okay, now we focus on handling the symptoms in something like week 4 and week 3. So yeah, I think it's awesome. And again, we keep it a small group. I think that's huge too. So that way everybody gets to be heard, and everybody gets their specific questions and situations addressed. If there are too many people on the call, then it wouldn't be as impactful, I feel. And I think that's a big difference between this and a lot of other programs, is that small group environment. Then after the initial 6 weeks, we put everybody together. But you won't experience that for a while, Kyle, because you guys are the first recovery jumpstart. Appreciate you sharing that. If you did have a mind shift or learn something, just comment down below. If there's one thing you took out of this, obviously you're not going to remember everything, but you want to get little nuggets here and there and build your own, rebuild your like belief system. So take golden nuggets from everywhere if you learn something. But other than that, I'll have this replay posted in the group for people who came in late or people who didn't watch this live. So the replay will be in the group. But I appreciate all you guys are all thrivers, and the fact that you're even on this call tells me that you're doing everything you can to get better. And I would just say continue doing that. Awesome, Tally. Yes, and I know we've been talking for a few months, so just keep going. Don't give up. That's the biggest thing, because it does get better. Even though it may seem impossible right now, it does get better. But yeah, appreciate you guys. I will see you in the next Q&A live, or you'll see me on YouTube. Yeah, I'm going to jump off. Appreciate you guys. Continue doing what you're doing. Apply these good principles. Take the information and apply it. But other than that, have a great day, everybody. And I'll talk to you guys soon.